Thank you very much, everyone, for coming on to the Alumni Room here at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a good discussion on a lot of topics. You folks are all going to be voting for the next president of the United States and have been seeing a lot. So I want to go through a lot of stuff with the election. I want to go through a lot of your own beliefs and thoughts on it. So first off, I want to start off by basically having you say your name, tell me where you're from, and tell me in one word what you think of this whole campaign. Let's start with you.
I'm Robert Barwig, and I'm from Eau Claire. And I guess hectic would be the one word I could choose.
Tricia Dubiak, I'm from Eau Claire. I would just say it's been pandemonium.
Joe Adamko from Bloomer, and I would say sometimes disgusting.
Christina Hitz from Eau Claire, and I would say crazy.
Dan Weiss from Eau Claire, appalling.
No one had anything positive to say about this. Has this, from what you've seen, probably been the most negative election year? And if so, what has made it completely negative? Why don't I start with you, Joe?
I just think it's the politics of hate. It's not what you're going to do, it's how you can hate the other guy the most. So it's, no policies or anything else, how they're going to help the average guy. It's just that, yeah, they're going to fix it, and well, how are you going to do that?
Trish, you mentioned the word, I think hectic was your word?
Pandemonium.
Pandemonium. It's hectic pandemonium. Why do you say pandemonium? What is it that makes it that crazy, if you will?
It's just been a lot of up and down and just kind of all over the place, and it's taken away from the fact of what it really needs to be. I have a lot of passion for a lot of the areas of discussion and for a lot of the issues at hand. It's hard sometimes to just zone in on that because so much has been going on around it, and a lot of it is media based. And it's unfortunate because I think the facts just kind of get sucked up in this whirlwind of pandemonium, and it just kind of overshadows what really needs to be addressed.
So when we talk about the disgust and the pandemonium that's out there, how do you try to discuss this when you've been talking with people and they say, well, what do you think? Or what do you think about all this? How tough has it been to try and have that discussion about what you think about all this? Well, what about you?
I have a fairly large online presence, and trying to explain it to my European friends is frankly embarrassing. I sense that Carville once said, politics isn't about ideology, it's about psychology. And the bar has been lowered so far that it's just become like a national emotional breakdown. Does that make sense?
And I do. Christina, let me ask you this then. Where does that come from? What's the source of the lowering of the bar?
I think social media. I think the fact that the whole election cycle everything is in a little soundbite and it's a meme, and everybody's just gathering and finding the info that makes what they already believe be the truth. And anybody that does not believe as they do, they're just like, oh, well, if you don't agree with me here, you must disagree with me on everything in the whole wide world. And we get rid of the humanity of people, and we're just like, it's this politics this year is just like a meme. I mean, it's just a soundbite.
Let's dive in a little bit as far as some questions here, and give me a show of hands. How many of you plan on voting? Now, keep them up if you already have voted. Okay, so you still have to make up your mind. Have you made your mind up yet? How many of you made your mind up? All right. Christina, I'm going to start with you. You're the only one that did not raise your hand. You are undecided right now.
I am still looking. I'm leaning towards Evan McMullin just because I can't vote for the primary two parties. I really thought I might vote the Democrat side. I've never voted Democrat for a presidential election, but Yeah, I can't vote the Republican this year. I'm not registered any party. I've never registered any party, voted many elections, but I'm looking for somebody else out there. I don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. I want to vote my conscience.
Let's go clockwise now around here, and I want you to all kind of give me an idea on where you're going. The rest of you have some ideas. So we're going to go clockwise, and tell me why you're going down this road. Why don't we start with you?
Basically, I'm going to vote for somebody that I think is going to do a good job of international aspect as far as foreign policy, and will help the middle guy, the small guy, and stuff like that. Just put it plain bluntly, I don't think a millionaire can tell middle class America how he's going to help you. He's never been there.
William.
Like I tell my friends, I got a set of criteria that I go off of, like, because no one candidate is gonna fill all your needs. So you got to look at which ones you feel are the most important to you, and then make your decision based off of that. And for me, being military, having served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and seeing how groups such as ISIS operate and what is actually necessary to take them down before they can grow any larger than they already have, I feel that we need a leader that's going to be strong, and they're going to actually push to break up ISIS rather than sitting back and watching other people break it up or funding other people to do it for us.
Trisha, what about you?
I'll be honest, when things first started this year for this election, and the debates were going on, and before everything was limited down to where we are now, I wasn't sure, and I wanted to be informed, so I just started watching rallies and that kind of thing, and started watching some of the debates and stuff, but more so with the rallies. And I started focusing more in on Donald Trump, because when he would speak and I would listen to him, just from my gut, I would just get goosebumps, and I don't know what it is. And so I would start watching more, and I would start watching more, and I would inform myself. I wanted to hear the rallies. I wanted the full interviews. I wanted to read the whole article. I didn't want to hear what was just being thrown out there, what was pieced together. And so I've made my decision based on what I've seen, what I've listened to. The first 3 minutes of his rallies hit the issues immediately. And this is not just in one rally, one town hall. This is almost all of them that I've watched. I've pieced together my own decision based on information that I've provided, or I've pulled up on my own, from these actual rallies and such. And that's how I've formed my decision. But a lot of it's just on passion, issues that mean something to me or that I have a passion about, and I've just gone from there. So it's not about this person or that person, it's who I feel, based on a lot of different things. But for me, it's a lot of it's going with intuition in my gut.
Dan, you also have an idea on who you're going for? What about you?
I started out leaning toward progressive positions. I went to the Sanders rally here at Zorn, and I've watched as the campaigns have degenerated into name calling and the rancor. And what I want from a president as a commander-in-chief, Napoleon said that greatness is the combination of the times and the man. What does the nation need now? It needs competent leadership in a world that is coming apart at the seams. Syria is going to Sheol in a handbasket. The Russians, the Chinese acting out in the South Pacific. I want a leader who I can rely on to do the right thing at the right time not fly off the handle, not get petty, and with things as bad as they are right now, I want somebody with some emotional stability. And I'm not particularly happy with either of the party's candidates right now.
Let's go into these candidates. I give you the name. Give me one word and an explanation of it. And we're going to start up on top with you on this, Bob. Donald Trump. One word to describe him and why.
Speaker. He, as she had pointed out, is he knows what to say to get people's attention so that they listen to him. And I can respect that because, I mean, if no one's listening, then your voice isn't really being heard. So I think him catching everyone's attention like he did at the beginning of his race with some of the questionable things he has said, but it got people's attention, got people discussing, and it's brought them this far.
Trish, Donald Trump, one word and why.
Passion. I see the way he speaks, the way he touches people, the movement, as he called it, the way people listen to him. And it's not just because he's been in entertainment for long or because he makes billions of dollars or because of where he's been or what have you, but I think he is basically, he hasn't always been, in great times. I mean, he's hit rock bottom how many times and he's come back, and I think it's kind of the way it goes for a lot of us. We rise, we fall, we rise, we fall. It's about a matter of picking yourself up and getting back again and getting back in the saddle again. It's not easy. You could say what you want, but it's the truth. He's a businessman, he's been in entertainment, but he's different and he speaks to people and he has a way of coming across to people that they do listen. It's not always polished, it's not always pretty. I don't always agree with everything he says, but he speaks from the heart. He has passion and he's honest. And just for me and the way I am, I would always rather have the truth, if it's ugly or not, rather than a sugar-coated mistruth because it sounds better or it looks better or it's believable or, it gets people listening in a different direction. I mean, that's just the way that I am, and so that method of delivery speaks better to me.
Joe, Donald Trump, one word and why.
Sexist. I have a daughter, a wife, and what you hear on them tapes was his words, nobody else's. So that's my word.
Christina, Donald Trump, one word and why.
Unpresidential. He seems to, when anybody disagrees with him, he comes back fighting. If a newspaper prints something, well, you should be out of news. You should no longer, the Second Amendment. Where's the Second Amendment? Where are any of the amendments? He seems to feel, just from what I've watched a lot of his rallies, that he isn't trying to be the commander-in-chief. He's trying to be like the next dictator-in-chief that says, hey, I don't like you, so you don't matter. You shouldn't exist. You should just shut up and not listen. Nobody should listen to you. Nobody should ever get your viewpoint. If you don't agree with me, then just get out of here. And I've served in the military and I have family members who are serving now, and I would never have wanted to serve under him.
And Daniel, last one. Donald Trump, one word and why.
Incoherent. The man is a zigzag wanderer. Monday he's saying one thing, Wednesday he's saying something else. His own lawyers have to send people in pairs. When your own lawyers understand that you're that incoherent, that you cannot be relied upon to maintain a solid position from Monday to Wednesday, Lord knows what's coming Friday. We want this man with the nuclear codes? Really?
Passion all around on that. Now, we're going to ask the other candidate, the major candidate. And again, one word and why. We're going to go the same order here. Hillary Clinton. Robert, one word and why.
Personally, I feel she said it best, but she used it against the wrong group. And I guess deplorable would be how I would describe her. It's from her history in politics. She's a career politician and hasn't accomplished anything.
Trish, one word. Hillary Clinton and why.
It's tough. Whew. Can you come back to me? I don't have.
The first reaction, first word that comes in when I say Hillary Clinton.
Dishonest. There's just been so much scandal, so many topics, so many things, and not just in the past 6, 7, 8 months, 2 years, but just in history of the Clintons. And I voted for Bill Clinton in his second term, the first election I believe I could vote in for. So it's not just, I'm not anti-Clinton. I'm not going to say anything like that. It's just a matter of just the facts, just the things that have been investigated, the emails, just all the different situations, the things that have really happened that have been surrounding politics, surrounding the Clintons in general. It's too much for me.
Joe, Hillary Clinton, one word and why.
Flawed. Been in for 30 years, and the Republicans have throwing crap against the wall for 30 years. Yes, she's going to have some problems. They spent $8 million to throw their crap up against the wall. Has it any convictions and stuff? No. So basically, for 30 years, they've been throwing dirt on her. And yes, she has problems. Every person has. But I think she has worked in the Senate across the aisle very well, and they ain't going to admit that. But, yeah, flawed.
Christina, Hillary Clinton, one word and why.
I've tried to think of a word. All I can say is, I admit, she has. When she was a senator, I was like, oh, you know what? All the stuff I thought about her as First Lady, she really did work across the aisle. But what she did with her servers and the email servers, I did communications in the military during the first Gulf War. Anybody that I worked with had done what she did, we'd be in jail. And as far as I'm concerned, she's disqualified. In my eyes, I could never vote for somebody who takes who's gonna just say, you know what, the rules don't apply to me, I'm higher, it doesn't matter. So, yeah.
And Dan.
I'm going to repeat the word flawed. Hillary Clinton is the most vilified politician, not merely woman politician, but politician in the last 50 years. You'd have to go back to Nixon to find somebody who is more viscerally hated in American politics. She came to the Senate. She worked with John McCain. She worked with the Republican leadership. I know New York State. I lived in Houghton. That's a little tiny town out in Allegheny County. Not New York City. New York City's Democrat. New York State, upstate, that's Republican. That's Fort Drum. That's Rochester and Buffalo, Syracuse. That's Republican territory. She went up into those little tiny towns and held her hat and asked those people to vote for her, and she worked real hard for the state of New York. And everyone thought she's just going to wade into politics and, she's just going to all her New York City friends. She worked real hard, kept her head down, voted with the Republican Party for the war in Iraq. Now, say what you want to about the war in Iraq. It wasn't the war, it was the occupation that went south. Nobody deserves that level of hatred. John McCain is a flawed human being. I respect him to pieces. He was wonderful. Hillary Clinton's his friend. The email server situation, when Bush 43 was doing the same thing, running it out of the RNC headquarters with his little Blackberries, ha ha ha. Any special prosecutors on that front? They've had how many investigations now? And Benghazi? How many investigations? Have they come up with anything? Nope. They're going to keep on throwing mud at the wall, like the man says over here.
It's interesting is that I'm hearing the split between a trust factor, Robert and Trish, for Trump, but across the board, Hillary Clinton, there is something not right. But you said the word flawed. I think that was kind of the key. Probably I would say the most generous word that I think that was given was flawed. Do you give both candidates, or one over the other, qualification? And I guess what qualifications do you look for when you are looking for your next president? And anyone wants to chime in? What's the one qualification that you look for first?
Patience.
Why that, Bob?
Well, Trump has threatened, throw his political opponents in jail. That's something, the Constitution, something there, doesn't ring right. But she stood there and didn't say anything. Now, can any human being, when they are threatened, sit there and take that crap? And as far as Benghazi or the servers, I agree with this gentleman here, where's all the investigations of that when it went through the RNC server? And actually, Karl Rove was subpoenaed in contempt of Congress, but they ran out the clock.
And it all mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah.
Let me ask on this. How important is that, and that's kind of the next question which I was going to get into, which was on both fronts. And since we're talking about the email controversy, how important really is that issue in deciding either to vote or not to vote for Hillary Clinton? How important is that?
It's pretty important.
Does it sway your vote, Dan, as far as...
I've served in the Army. I've done a lot of government contracting. If I breached my promises and oaths, I would be in prison. The fact that Hillary Clinton actually would send people outside. A Faraday cage is basically an electromagnetic shield inside of out on the perimeter of a building. She would send people outside the building to do her email. Yeah, I mean, that's so weird. What was she trying to hide?
Robert, you also mentioned that you have military.
Yes, I served 8 years with the 4th Infantry Division out of Texas and Colorado, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan.
So when you hear about that, how much does that set you off?
I actually held a secret clearance and had to go through annual training to make sure that I understood what I could and could not do, what computers I could touch, what computers I couldn't touch, what phones I could pick up, which phones I could not pick up. And that's annual training. You go through it and you have to pass it. And the fact that she claims that she didn't know what she was doing was wrong, I can't believe, because with her being a senator, having to go through that training, and with her being Secretary of Defense, having to go through, or Secretary of State, my bad, but having to go through that training, for her to just forget what that training was, I can't buy that. It's a ridiculous notion that she would forget what she can and cannot do.
All of you, it sounds like this is a big bone of contention for you. It sounds like this is one that, does it change your vote enough? And I'm going to come back to Robert and Trish because it sounds like you have found support for the other side on this. But for you three down here, does it change your vote to the degree of, I can't vote for this person?
It would have, but Trump trumped that. You know, I mean, I wasn't a Cruz fan either, because I don't believe your religion should go that much into politics, but I mean, it was the Republicans to lose, or it is the Republicans to lose. So it was like, I've voted, you know, I joined the military during the first Gulf War, and I voted Republican the whole 9 yards on federal level, not locals. And it just blows my mind that you have somebody that would be so easy to beat, and then somebody comes in, and I mean, I told him, I was like, never ever, Hillary, I don't care, she's a woman, whatever, I can never vote for her. 2 weeks ago, I was like, dude, I'm like, I might be voting with you. I don't know, I might have to vote for Hillary Clinton. And I'm like, and then, you know, and you're like, you never want to vote for the lesser of the evil. Because I'm like, how could you vote for somebody who does that? And if it wouldn't be Trump, or if somebody I thought on the Republican side actually believed in the Constitution and wasn't, I'm going to say all the sound bites that everybody wants to hear. I look on Facebook and see what everybody complains about on every single Facebook message, and then the next time I have a rally, I say, hey, I'm for every single thing that everybody complained about. You know, it's like, come on.